Hello neighbors, Akibataku here. You know, there's a saying that nowadays everything kinda sucks. Unemployment's high, school is hell, and now my earpieces are no longer working. Now I cannot hear shit. But though to be fair, my boss did tell me that he's gonna connect me with someone to fix the problem. What could be wrong?
It is no secret that anime merchandising is one of the most popular businesses in all of Japan, right next to pachinkos and even Pocky addiction.
Come on, I like Pocky.
One of the more popular merchandise is of course the posable anime figures. While many existed in the family like SH Figuarts or Robotech, the one that has been consistently delivering a steady stream of quality and quantity is Figma. Figma figures has always been what I've collected within the community for the longest time. They are always what I needed, small posable anime figures. I recall playing with these a lot because their quality was just that good. Not to mention, besides the variety of characters we had, we also have a lot of accessories, a lot of sceneries, and even vehicles. However, now things are different. The last Figma figure I bought was around 2020 with Uraraka.
Because of course I chose Uraraka.
And that's why I realized something. Let's see. Smaller box, Uraraka herself, 4 sets of hands, 3 faceplates, an alternate head along with a bang, a piece of rock, and an arm to hold the rock. Okay, this is not so bad. How much is this? 8,000 yen?
$60 US!
Now to many of you, this seems like either a good deal or you don't know what to feel about it, which in either case...
Who the hell are you all?
Let me put this into perspective. Here we have Figma Shimakaze. She comes with a bigger box, 3 sets of faces, big Renzo Ho with full articulation, 2 smaller ones, 5 sets of hands, torpedo pack, and all of that for just 5,900 yen, or 45 bucks. Okay, maybe I'm just going insane. Let's take another look. Here we have Figma Nezuko. She comes with alternate skirt pieces, 2 faces, 5 sets of hands, and all of that for 9,000 yen! That's nearly 70 USD! This can go on forever, but the point is, I am noticing something worrying. A lot of recent Figma figures have become seriously way too expensive. Some of them are either overpriced or just do not have enough content. And the worst part is when you take a look at them, there has been a noticeable decrease in Figma figures output compared to other lines like Nendroid and such. So that begs the question.
Why should I care?
No, the other one.
What happened?
Basically, to give you an idea of what's happening, let's go a while back. In the beginning, Figma was supposed to be this niche product aimed at otakus in the mid of the Heisei era. It was created by Max Factory with the first Figma figure being Yuki Nagato from Haruhi. She came with a few sets of hands, a chair, books, 2 pairs of shoes, glasses, and all of this for around 2,600 yen. Quite the good price for the first Figma launch. This soon was followed by Nanoha, which was insanely popular at the time, Persona, Lucky Star, and even Vocaloid. At the time, there were also other competitors like Revoltech and SH Figuarts for those otakus who wanted posable figures. There was just one problem. They were shit. Due to the fact that there was little to no attempt at engineering, questionable quality control, aesthetic problems, and other stuff, it made Figma stand out all the more. This resulted in many competitors like Bandai to finally get their act together like the Sailor Moon line.
Oh wow, you know it's bad when Nanoha out of all property is defeating Sailor Moon.
And after all of that, Figma took the lead to develop one of the most advanced and desirable posable anime, manga, and even video game figures for not only just otakus, but the collecting community in general. And when they reached their 200th Figma, Hatsune Miku 2.0, which is the first ever Figma I ever gotten, they were still smashing it. She came with plenty of accessories, introduced new joint articulation and engineering. She is considered one of the best anime merchandise in otaku history. She is still very much desired even after 2013. A lot of her features will still be the standard for not only Figma, but also other action figure lines, and all of that for the price of 4,000 yen. Calling this an investment would be an understatement. It is also around this time where Figma is beginning to pumping out hit after hit after hit. Lots of content creators like Jabby the Hong and Mecha Gaigotsu is also pumping review after review, praising practically everything Figma has to offer. However, nowadays, there is a significant problem. Firstly, it seems there is a strong disparity between the price range and the contents in the box, or CITB, for Figma figures made in the modern day. It is very difficult to trace where this trend started as backtracking is a bit questionable. We can judge by example. For instance, this is my most recent Figma figure in my collection. She is once again Uraraka, which costs 8,000 yen. And when I first saw her, I thought to myself,
well, this is fucking bullshit.
And poetically, this became the last Figma figure I ever bought, and compared to their competitors, the Revoltech Amazing Yamaguchi Harley Quinn got more accessories, more engineering, and all of that for a better price. Looks like the competitors are finally catching up. Secondly, nowadays, the figure output of Figma has been getting noticeably smaller and smaller compared to yesteryears, and all of the recent ones are either re-releases, accessories, and whatever the fuck Figma is trying to do here. And the weird thing is, technically, if you look back on the previous records, there is more stuff today than yesterday, but it sure does not feel like it. So now we must ask, what happened to Figma figures? Well, honestly, I am not 100% sure, but what I can say is...
Hello, neighbor?
Hey, this is Actar, and what's all this I've been hearing about the decline of Figma figures? As a self-proclaimed veteran collector of anime figures for more than a decade, with over 200 Figma figures in my collection, both opened and sealed, and the first person to review a Figma figure on YouTube all the way back in 2008, I think I can give a little bit more insight, or at least my best guess, into what's been happening with Figma figures.
Oh hey, you're the senpai my boss talked about. Care to talk?
Alrighty, I think that Akiba has given us a rather great summary and overview of the situation in general. Figma figures have been getting more expensive and they've been coming with less. But in addition to that, there have been fewer and fewer Figma figure releases over the years. But before we get into Figma specifically, it's important to note that this increase in price has been affecting all figures in general. Toy-Khan, one of my favorite Japanese figure reviewers, did some research and calculated and compared the average prices of Altar's completed PVC figures over the years. As you can see, the average price has more than doubled over this past decade. In a recent Good Small Company livestream, they went into some of the reasons for this increase in price. One of the most obvious reasons is, of course, rising costs of production. Figures are mainly made of plastic, and plastic is made from petroleum. But in addition to rising oil prices, labor costs have also been increasing as well. But that's not all. Anime figures in general have been getting more and more complex and high quality. Compared to the anime figures of a decade ago, due to rising standards and expectations and of course better technology, your average anime figure nowadays has more paint applications, detailed sculpts, and individual pieces. All of these means more development time and more production costs, and that's one of the reasons why Good Small Company came out with the Pop-Up Parade line of figures. These figures have simple sculpts, simple paint applications, and are made of fewer separate pieces in order to keep prices down. And that brings us to Figma figures, which have it even worse than completed PVC figures. Not only do they require more development time and engineering, they're made of far more individual pieces and parts. But to be fair, they're still cheaper than your average completed PVC figure, just like back in the day. But of course, in my opinion, the main reason why Figma figures have been getting more expensive and few and far between is the lack of popularity. Back in the day, we had a huge variety of Figma figures from a plethora of properties. Nowadays, however, it's pretty much limited to what's popular, and Figma figure announcements and releases have also slowed down considerably. Now, why is that? Personally speaking, I absolutely love Figma figures, and posable figures in general. For me, I'm always on the quest to own the definitive figure representation of my favorite characters, and posable figures allow me to recreate any of those characters' signature poses. However, from a cursory browse through various figure sites, forums, and message boards, it seems that Figma figures are having trouble finding an audience. Most hardcore figure collectors would rather splurge on completed PVC figures, as they are larger, more detailed, don't have any joints, and can be appreciated for their inherent aesthetic qualities. Casual collectors find posing figures a hassle, and they're more likely to purchase a Nandroid. Due to their lower prices, simplicity, and cute chibi aesthetic that can be appreciated regardless of whether they are a fan of the source material or not. When it comes to Figma figures, the large number of accessories are ironically seen as a detriment and a waste of money, as most collectors, both hardcore and casual, just chuck them all into a storage bin after they've posed the figure in a way that they like. As you can see, while I and many Figma figure fans love Figma figures for the freedom, flexibility, and play value they provide, they're ironically seen as cumbersome, unnecessary, and unappealing by many other collectors. Unfortunately, I don't see the situation improving anytime soon, especially not with the rising costs, which will only worsen the problem. Even if GSC were to try to lower the costs of Figma figures and simplify them by cutting down on the accessories, I'm not sure how much good that will do in the long run. Instead of appealing to more people, I can only foresee them alienating their already established fan base who love Figma figures for the accessories, like myself. Interestingly enough, GSC seems to want to have their cake and eat it too, releasing multiple versions of recent Figma figures, the cheaper standard editions and the more expensive DX editions with more accessories to cater to as many different collectors as possible. I'm not sure how well this tactic has been doing for them, but I personally always go with the DX versions, and I think most Figma collectors do too. Looks like only time will tell.
Well, that has been insightful, but wait, what about my earpieces?
You could try using some ASMR videos. Worked wonders for me.
Alright, thanks for the information. So, yeah, not really the happy ending I was hoping for. And sure, otaku hobbies and collecting in general has never been a cheap investment, but if you compare the results of now and yesterday's, the difference is just too big to ignore. And sure, while we could technically do something about it, just like many problems today, we do know the problem, we do know the cause, but we do not know the solution. We could potentially do things like drive up demand or wait for the recession to be over, but in the end, there's nothing we can really realistically do about it. But to hopefully keep our spirits up, I'm gonna try solve every problem one by one, starting with my earpiece because goddammit I want to hear again. Lesson learned. Never get an audiophile to find you an earpiece.